Excuse me. Russo.
You talk?
Yeah. Yeah, hang on.
Heard you got a new client, huh? Business must be good.
If I believed everything I read, that's all down to you.
Wouldn't put too much faith in that.
Hope you're calling because you're reconsidering my offer. It still stands. There's a lot of heat on you, brother. We gotta get you out of this city. Give me 12 hours, I can have you anywhere you want to be.
Lewis Wilson. He's coming after Ori. He's got no intentions of letting him make that speech.
Okay. And how would you know about something like that?
Told me as much.
What is it with you and this kid?
We have unfinished business.
Yeah, well, we know how you feel about that.
Kid's got delusions of grandeur. You gotta get the senator out of there, but tell no one. Make sure you keep the appearance that he's still in that hotel suite. You set the trap. I'll spring it.
You're here. Frank, this is my work. I can't just... Listen. Tell me where you are. Meet me. We can do this together.
Look. You just keep your team out of my way.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening. We're on Panels to Pixels, and you're listening to our continuing saga of watching The Punisher Season 2 on Netflix. Tonight's episode we're discussing is Episode 10, which is Virtues of Vicious. Not only do I have myself, but I have Avelina Rashino, and I have Steve Brown yet again. So all three of us are going to be talking about this episode. We all have great views of this. We have great insight of what's going on. I think Avelino and Steve have a lot to say. So, Steve, do you want to start us off with a little brief? And
Sure.
Av, do you want to take off the second part of it?
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I'll kick it off with a little bit of a kind of a disclaimer to start with. The last episode brought all of our characters together for the first time. Like I think last episode was the first time we had everybody in one episode, and we suddenly get all the storylines kind of merging. And then we have this episode that's told in a very non-linear, non-chronological way. And I'm not usually a big fan of that type of storytelling, but I think it works in this episode.
Yeah, I totally agree. The episode was, when you watch it cold for the first time, actually, here was my reaction. When I watched it cold for the first time, I almost had to double check that I was watching the correct episode in the correct chronological order, because I thought that either I jumped ahead too far or whatever, because the beginning, maybe even the first 15, 20 minutes just didn't seem to make sense as opposed to where they left off in the last episode. But then once you get into the storytelling and the format and everything like that, you just are amazed at how well they pulled it off, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. I thought it kind of reminded me a little bit of Reservoir Dogs, where everything was out of sequence.
Yes, yes.
And at a certain point, you know.
Yeah, and I have to admit, Avelino, I had the same thing. The very first time I watched this episode, I think I stopped it at the beginning and went back. Did I miss something somewhere?
Yes.
Did I? Because we open with Lewis just murdering this guy who we have no clue who he is. We don't know anything about him.
Correct.
And then we have Russo being interviewed by a detective in this apartment where obviously something bad has happened.
Yeah.
And then we get to see the story unfold from the different points of view over the last 6 hours.
Correct, exactly. And it was a brilliant style because, like you mentioned, Mark, it was Reservoir Dogs, so classic Tarantino, going forward, going backward, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But also classic, Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa, where you had different points of view and slightly different takes or different memories of the action. Just like that, that classic samurai movie.
Oh, definitely.
And yeah, and it made for a really interesting, take on the, on the way the action unfolded, and gave you a little bit of insight into each of the characters and their own points of view. Yeah, that was a really brilliant storytelling, I thought.
It's edited very, very well. I've shared with Mark before. There's some of these episodes that I think the editing is just brilliant, and then there's a couple of the episodes where I go, huh? So this was one where they pulled off the editing very well.
Yes.
All right.
What, do we want to get straight into our top 5 then?
Sure. Do you want to start it?
Let's let Avelino start.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Well, my number 5, and I want to give a real huge thumbs up, is to Lewis, the character Lewis, and, that lost, tragic character. He was played by the actor Daniel Weber. Have you guys seen any of his other roles, Daniel Weber's other roles?
No,
sorry.
No, the face seems very familiar to me, but I can't really recall anything.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that classic leading man type of looks or anything like that. But he was in that series on Hulu called 11/22/63. It was an adaptation of a Stephen King novel where the protagonist discovers a portal back into the past where he can go back into the past and change events. And the only way, let's see now, basically he can then make those changes permanent by then going back in the portal to the future. But every time he goes back in the past resets and the timeline resets and everything like that. Anyhow, when the protagonist goes back into the past, he has a chance to save John F. Kennedy, and he has to decide whether he has to do that or not. But one of the people that he meets in the past is Lee Harvey Oswald. And so Lee Harvey Oswald was portrayed by Daniel Weber. And in that show, the character was similar in the fact that it was a veteran who had a lot of angst, a lot of, felt a little bit betrayed by the system, that kind of stuff. And both in The Punisher and in 11/22/63, Daniel Weber just pulled off that brilliantly. Just, you can feel his how should I say, his being lost in today's society, and just that bubbling anger, and the fact that he's a really competent soldier too. I mean, more than competent. He took out all those people. He planned that raid and everything like that in this episode. And yeah, the Daniel Weber's performance was brilliant, I thought.
Cool.
Very good. Yeah. My number 5 is very short. No Curtis. I guess he's recovering from his wounds, or we don't get to see him.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
What do you think the time frame was from this episode versus the last couple episodes? Is it right away, you think, or
might have been days?
It had to be. There had to be some time, I would think, because, and I have it in my notes, the newspaper has figured out that Lewis is the bomber. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was interesting. The very first scene shows him walking down the corridor with the newspaper showing his face with Frank, and they're thinking that they're working together. Mm-hmm. And it shows Lewis. And I'm like, how did they know? And the only thing I could think of is that it was off screen. Curtis told the police when they rescued him from having the explosives strapped to him, or just the fact that if Frank and Curtis were able to recognize Lewis's voice on the radio, maybe other people recognized his voice on the radio, and so that the police figured out who he was and got him. But yeah, there has to be a couple of days because he's also gathered a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
He's got a silenced pistol. He's got these explosives, and he's figured out where the senator is going to be. He's really done what Frank kind of told him to do in the last episode when Frank said, well, you're a bomber. I go face to face with my enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it almost seems like he took that to heart and went, okay, I'll go face to face with my enemies. And that's what he's done in this. And so that's kind of what I thought is it has to be at least a few days.
Okay.
Definitely. It looked like Lewis was trying to make a point, not to prove to Frank, but to get what he needs to say and make a point by taking out the senator.
Yeah.
And, he went to those extremes. But it also comes from, I think, his background from being in the military and surveillance, just like how Frank is. And Frank already knew how to pinpoint and pick out, like, in the very beginning, he figured out who Micro was. He grabbed him and everything else and brought him in. And they're adept at trying to get all that information out of people. Maybe it's from their training.
Maybe, and we don't know. We don't get to see Lewis's his combat experience. Maybe he was like an explosive ordnance disposal tech, and that's why he knew all the stuff about we know why Frank has his training. He's like super special forces, Marine Force recon guy. We don't know what Lewis's background is.
Yeah, but it whatever it was evident at his level of competency that he was able to plan that operation, infiltrate, just get past, all those guards, all the all of the employees, and just enter a room hot like that. It was just it was incredible. I presume that he must have had some sort of really high level of training if they were even considering him for employment in the first place, I guess. Then they discovered he was crazy. So,
He couldn't be too crazy. He was able to figure all that stuff out and coordinate it and make it all work. Like Frank's getaway.
I love that. I love that line at the end where Karen Page looks at the police officer and says, do you really think Frank Castle's the kind of man who goes into a building not knowing how he's going to get out?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool line.
Yep, exactly.
Well, what was your number 5, Mark?
Basically Lewis's intro, the whole surveilling of the actual rooms, setting everything up. You saw what he did with the door. He was in another room, it seemed like, not the original room. I see the two birds. I can't recall if the two birds were in the same room, though, with the senator.
No, the two birds were in the apartment with the guy he kills at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And that was a weird scene as well, kind of. I almost expected him to either get mad at the birds for not wanting to fly out, and it kind of surprised me when he just kind of went, well, and just kind of left.
What do you think the significance was of, him opening up the cage and the birds just just sitting there? I mean, was that supposed to be anything significant or anything symbolic, do you think, or
setting a bird free? Maybe create some sort of chaos in the room for whoever shows up. Hey, my birds are out, and then they have to flee to some.
Well, no, it was more like he was trying to release them. I think he was trying to release them.
I think so too. Yeah,
he didn't know. Obviously, he doesn't know how long the guy's going to be there. The dead body's going to be there, but I think he really was trying to release them to set them free. And I don't know if there's any kind of bigger picture significance of the fact that they didn't want to leave their cage. But that's a thing that happens with birds, isn't it? That some of them, I don't know, because my grandmother had my grandmother had a parakeet, and every time that stupid thing would get out and fly all over the room. So like it didn't take but a second of that door being open that it was out. So
yeah. My brother had a parrot, and he used to do that same thing. The parrot would just get out and go crazy, and mimic everybody and say all the words and put them away, put her away. But I thought it was some sort of symbolism. But maybe he was trying to set it free. Maybe it was a portion of his humanity.
Could be.
Who knows?
Or maybe what he was trying to do with his actions against the senator was to send a message to to the sheep, the common folk, trying to wake them up or trying to shake them loose, trying to get them to do something. But most people are just willing to just sit in their cage, and if they're comfortable and if they're well fed and if they're well sheltered, they don't want to be free. And maybe that's kind of symbolic of his actions, and then what most people would probably react to. Their reaction would be, like, why are you trying to shake the tree? Why are you trying to ruin a good thing? That's possible. I don't know.
Oh, good point.
I like that. Yeah.
So
Number 4.
Number 4. Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go with the same sequence. My number 4 was, this was a really cool episode. So, Steve, you mentioned last week was the first time we saw all the characters all at once. This week, we didn't see all the characters. We didn't see Linus there, and Curtis wasn't there either. But the major storylines between, you had Lewis and you had Karen and Billy and
right.
Madani as well. Mm-hmm. Those major storylines are all converged into like one explosion, where finally everyone's betrayal was revealed. Everyone knew where everyone else stood, I thought. And so this was kind of a beautiful terminus of all that. And it's amazing. We had 9 episodes of setup. We had plenty of action in those 9 episodes, but we had 9 episodes of setup that just led to this. I thought this was, in my opinion, the best episode so far, and it was just brilliant how they made everything converge. Because in the past, of course, you saw Madani. She was after the Punisher, and she didn't really know. She knew something was up with the upper command, and that there might be a mole or some sort of betrayal or something like that. But you didn't really know, okay, what did she have to do with Lewis? And you saw Lewis and the Punisher converge, in the last episode, but you still kind of wondered, with Lewis's anger and everything like that, what does he have to do with the story? And we saw all that now in episode 10, where it just all converged, and where Lewis's actions really brought forth and brought to light the truth behind, Billy and exposed Billy to Madani and exposed Billy to Frank Castle as well. And that was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch mine up a little bit since you brought up Madani, because she was one of mine further down. But I love that character, because what I realized this week with this episode is she is very much a cop, like the traditional TV show movie cop. She sees everything in black and white. There's no gray area with her. All she sees is the fact that her asset was killed, and now she knows who the killer is, and she wants to get him.
Yeah.
And I don't think she realizes that Frank is the one that actually pulled the trigger. She still thinks maybe Rollins pulled the trigger. But she really sees that's all. In fact, she calls Rollins a piece of crap. Mm-hmm. Because when she tells her boss who he is, and her boss says, "Wait, that's the chief covert operations," and she's like, "No, he's just a scumbag murderer." Mm-hmm. In her eyes, that's all he is. And then she assesses. She shows us her detective skills again in the hotel room when she knows exactly what happened by the blood splatter and the bodies and what is there. And the other detective is kind of like, well, obviously this happened. And she's like, no, that's not obviously what happened. And so I really liked that. That stairwell scene between her and Billy was great, where she realizes that he killed her partner. And I love that walkaway line she has, where earlier the detective had told her, "You're still here because I haven't let you leave," and then he says to her, "Well, I haven't dismissed you yet," or something like that, and she says, "Well, I'm going to go anyway."
Yeah. And you know what? In that stairwell too, she realized two things. She realized, number one, that Frank Castle was not the enemy. You know, he wasn't the bad guy, and she realized that Russo was. You know, and that was that was almost nice symbolism of the stairway between the descending and ascending, and that, she was able to, finally understand that and turn away from Frank. And, she would have let him go if the cops hadn't come. But, it was, that was really cool, kind of symbolism there in the stairway.
Yeah. Mark, what was your number 4?
My number 4. My number 4 was Karen and Frank working during the bomb. That whole thing with Lewis and Lewis attaching, had that bomb around him. And her trust in Frank and trying to figure out what wire was the wire to pull to, stop the bomb. So if he does hit that switch, and him, constantly talking to Lewis, and at the same time giving Karen these good, these looks and these yes/no kind of looks.
Yeah.
What to pull and what not to pull. It was a lot of trust between Karen and Frank, and then on top of that, Frank having to work and deal with what Lewis was going through, and him trying to see through his own mind, how did this kid get that way, and did I push him that way? And you could see everything's going on in Frank's mind at that point. But, mostly it was for the part of the trust between Karen and Frank of he's giving her that look, I'm going to get you out of this, and we're going to get out of this. And who knows what's going to happen to Lewis at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I really like that. In fact, I had it down later in a question or a statement about, did he see her put the guard's gun into her purse, or did he just think she had her gun? Because remember, there's that whole discussion with the detective where the detective says, well, he took you hostage with your own gun. And she's like, technically, it wasn't my gun. And I went back and rewatched the scene. And sure enough, she pulls one of the guns from the floor in the hotel and puts it in her purse. And so I don't know if Frank just assumed she had the gun from Daredevil, or if he had actually seen her put that gun in her purse. So either way, he trusted that she had a firearm in there, and she was going to be able to distract Lewis. And that whole thing with the white wire and the other movies. Yeah, other movies have said that bombers, I think it was the Speed, the one with Keanu Reeves, where they talked about bombers. And they said normally bombers are very meticulous or very monogamous. They do the same thing all the time with their bombs. So if that's the case, then that's why Frank knew, hey, if you pull that white wire, that's gonna disconnect the thing. So yeah, I really like that.
All right, cool. What was your forward number, Steve? Number 4, Steve.
Yeah. Where was I at? I think we went right into that, because with Karen, pulling the white wire, that trust that she has between her and Frank, that her understanding what he wanted her to do, I think was really good. That whole. And then in the elevator, there's almost a moment, and Mark, you and I have discussed this, and I've gone back and forth on it, whether it's a romantic thing or just a loyalty thing between them. But it really seemed like there was a moment in that elevator when it went deeper than
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's definitely family, whether it's romantic or not, but it's definitely family. Like he said in the last episode of the episode before, I can't remember when he said Karen's family.
Yeah.
And you really saw that in the elevator, and they did those scenes so well. Especially, I just love the fact they get into the elevator, and the first thing he does when the doors close is he hands her back the gun.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't it doesn't even occur to him that she's going to do anything weird with that gun. And then he's got quite a vertical. That
I know.
open that elevator lid and then jump up and grab it with
a
his hand.
dislocated shoulder. No
Yeah,
less.
I was
and a wound.
pretty good vertical.
Yeah.
So.
I really like the evolution of Karen's character. I mean, I've watched Daredevil seasons 1 and 2, and now The Punisher, and she's been a major character in all 3 seasons, and she's turned into a real hero. Like she's now transcended beyond just the damsel in distress and everything like that. Like what she did in the suite with the senator and protecting the senator, telling telling Lewis not to shoot him and everything like that, and then having the wherewithal to help the Punisher take down Lewis. That was incredible, and she thought clearly. She was valiant, courageous, and she's really come a long way from kind of like that scared little girl who needed a job, from
Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock,
Oh,
yeah, and to where she is now. I mean, she could almost be like the Punisher's protege if she really trained or something like that. She has she seems to have that mindset.
I agree. Actually, my thought about Karen was that she went from somebody who was a victim.
Yeah,
Because, she had a lot of problems before Matt even came to her. I can't remember. I'm probably thinking wrong. But wasn't she into drugs and everything else, and then she just kind of got clean and had some issues?
Yeah, I remember that it was either drugs or maybe she was alcoholic. I can't remember, but I remember that she did seem to have issues before she joined up with Matt Murdock. But she definitely wasn't the strong character she is now. Let's put it that way.
Oh, for sure. She's definitely improved and grown from that.
Yeah.
The evolution of Karen Page is actually very good. Very much like other characters within the Netflix series. Jessica Jones has one in her assistant. And Luke Cage has a couple, and he's lost a few in the process. And then you got Danny Rand, who has his own that, he needed help from. So I think they're trying to show that they're trying to build up some sort of family. And to go back with what Steve was saying about that whole elevator scene, there was a point where you thought, oh, they're going to kiss. And they didn't. It was one of those, it was more of a mutual understanding and affection towards one another before he had to jump up vertically, which is very hard for anybody who's wounded, and on top of that with a dislocated shoulder. I do agree. There's a lot going in there, but this is a comic book turned into a TV show, and you got to suspend all your disbelief at certain points and just enjoy what's there and have fun with the character and what they're portraying. But there is some truth to a lot what's going on, symbolism and the real world of what's going on that we're facing. I think that's all what's attracting to us to this and these characters, and showing strength in a lot of these people, and then showing some of the weaknesses. And I think that's what Lewis's character is the weakness. And then you got Frank, and then of all people we didn't see this episode was Micro.
Right, we didn't see Micro either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, but on top of that, you're starting to see people come together for a common reason, but also them trying to stop the bad, or the big bad, as it were.
Yeah.
So, that's the whole point why we watch this, because we want to see something good come out of something bad. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I have no idea where we are.
I think we're number three now.
Number three? Go ahead, Avelino.
Oh, okay. Yeah, number three. I guess my number three is going to be Billy Russo himself. This is finally the episode where he's totally unmasked to everyone, his friends, Madani, his lover, ex-lover, I guess at this point, Frank Castle, who was, Frank trusted this guy. Frank, this guy was as much of a family as his family that got killed. And I can only imagine now, as Frank was ziplining off of the roof, just the emotions that he had to go through and kind of digest at that point. I'm sure I don't know if a guy like him would be in shock after a firefight like that, but, whatever he needed to recover from the physicality of that, that encounter, now to then digest that, Russo is out for him. I don't know at this point if he's pieced together, what Russo is with this whole conspiracy, but he now knows that Russo is out to get him, that Russo wants him dead. Russo said as much to Madani in that stairwell. So, yeah, Billy Russo is totally unmasked. But what's cool about I thought that Ben Barnes did an awesome job with the nuance of Billy Russo, because he's this character that actually in the first, 3 or 4 episodes, I had absolutely no clue what his role was as far as, being a bad guy, Yeah. I thought that he was a good friend, there's that kind of thing in the back of your mind saying like, oh, this guy's almost too good to be true. He's really handsome, and very charismatic. But the first 3 or 4 episodes, I remember thinking like, oh yeah, this guy's a good friend as much as, as much as the other guys are in his unit, and so it really kind of pretty much blindsided me when I discovered his role in the whole conspiracy. But this was a great climax to that, because he's finally unmasked now. He's but all throughout the episode, you saw just how smooth of an operator he was. He's dressed in a beautiful suit. His hair is perfect. And he's an excellent commander. He really, he cares for his men. As far as a tactician goes, he cares for his men until I guess they become assets. But he knows how to run an op. He knows how to run surveillance, protection, stuff like that. He can talk with the best of them on political terms, like how he handled the detective. He was able to, kind of fence with him. And, he had Madani fooled, he had Frank Castle fooled, and to pull off that kind of a villainy where he's the main betrayer without going into comic book, mustache twirling, villainy that you typically see. That was really cool, and Ben Barnes just hit it out of the park. So yeah, I really loved the character of Billy Russo. I thought that he's an excellent, very nuanced, Jekyll and Hyde type of villain. Yeah,
very good. And I'll piggyback right on that with mine, because with my next one, because I had a little note about Russo, and as you were talking, I got to think even more. The way he turned it around on the detective, when the detective said, well, you failed, and he said, no, our mission was to keep the senator alive. The senator's alive. We actually, we prevailed, but I lost him in. I've got to go make 4 phone calls, or however many he said he's got to go call. And so to see that, but when we know that he's a sociopath, so we know that's all just put on.
Yeah.
Of course, the detective doesn't know that, but and I made a note of something that I thought was interesting, is that he had females involved in this particular operation.
Yeah.
Did you see that in the hallway there? And as soon as Lewis is in the elevator with Karen Page, they turned immediately on Frank. Like there was there was no question in their mind.
There's no hesitation. Yeah.
Yeah, that Frank was part of this, even though Lewis has just walked out with. It was a weird kind of scene to me to think, and it made me wonder if, like you said, maybe they had been told, "Hey, if Frank Castle shows up, he's a dead man. You got to kill him."
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was the rule, or that was kind of my next one, is just that idea of that he had females and himself, what he does in this episode, as far as just. He crosses the line with Madani when he shoots at Frank, and then he puts his gun on her, and they're having this kind of standoff, and she realizes that he killed Stein, and Frank realizes that he had something to do with what was going on overseas, because he says, "We did what we had to do," or something to that effect, and that's what set off Frank to go, "What did you do? What did you do?" And so suddenly the wheels are turning in Frank's mind, and he realizes that Russo's been involved in this from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's been playing both sides, that he was Frank's friend and he was with this Agent Rollins, or Agent Orange,
Do you think if the cops hadn't have come, and I know that Madani and Russo were in a standoff, but do you think he would have killed Madani at that situation, given the chance, along with Frank Castle?
He might have tried.
I think so too. I think he would have tried, definitely.
Yeah.
I could see him, I could see him shooting Madani, like if she's wearing a bullet, if he knows she's wearing like a vest like Frank had, maybe he shoots her in the vest, not really trying to kill her, and then tries to kill Frank. I don't know if he would have been able to accomplish both those feats. I don't know if Frank could have, he might have shot Madani, and Frank could have grabbed Madani's gun and then shot him. Did Frank still have his gun at that point, or had he put it away? I think he holstered it.
He might have holstered. He had it with him, it seemed. Yeah, but
she kept telling him to drop it, and he was holding on to it while they were talking. And then when he says, "I'm going to walk past you now," and that's when Russo comes in, and I'm assuming at that time he must have holstered his. So he still had a gun.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. And that was your number 3.
Sure. I've lost track at this point. I've used up all but one of mine, but I've got some other notes that I can throw in here. So, what's your number 3, though, Mark? I think we're at your number 3.
My number 3 would be Madani and Billy. They had that conversation, and with you saying how definitely Billy would have shot her bringing up the fact that her realizing that Billy actually killed Stein, during that attack. She kind of pointed it out, and her realization, and him denying it completely, constantly, was really terrible.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You had a.
Oh no, I was going to say, because I had something, because I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. That conversation they have when she has all the folders, and she's showing him all the Anvil guys, but that's earlier in the episode, and then later on, like you're saying, she puts it together in her head that he was actually there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Billy would just see her as collateral damage and just get rid of her. Even though at one point, you and I had this talk from previous episodes about how it's like he was trying to get close to her, and she was shucking him off. And he started to, I think in the deep darks of his mind, started realizing, oh, darn, I'm not going to get anywhere with this person. And he's seeing it as business. And I wouldn't be surprised and put it past him that he would think, all right, I could dispatch her, and that's it. I don't need this. I'm just utilizing her as a tool to get the information I need and to get where I need to get with Frank and the investigation that's going on. So that and the fact that she brings it up that they were a lot of Billy's team were former, and then he treats it almost like a business, like, oh, we don't keep track of those people, we just hire them in, and that's it. It starts to open her eyes of who he really is. He's trying to be business, but doing the business that he wants to do and not care about who works for him or what's going on. And on top of that, you had Lewis who worked for him, and he's the one that's doing all this.
Yeah.
And I think she also came to realize at that moment too that she knows that all of these guys are just assets to him. Like for example, I guess a good employer or a good commander would have said at the very least, it's like, oh damn, I hired these guys. I can't believe that they got embroiled in whatever, and they were running with the wrong guys. That really sucks. I mean, these are people that he's paid and he's trained and he's commanded in probably tough situations. And to her, all he says is like, oh well, we hired these guys, and it's too bad. Too bad they're dead.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so she probably starts in her mind, especially since she is a pretty sharp detective, she's probably thinking to herself, like, well, that's probably what he thinks about me too. It's like, use me, and then as soon as the asset is no longer necessary, just, toss me aside or even kill me.
Yeah, and I just thought about that as you were saying that with her detective mind, she probably put it together that if he was there, if he was leading that operation, that means he killed at least, what was it, 2 or 3 of his own men?
Yeah,
of his own men, and then he killed Stein.
Oh, right, yeah.
I know he definitely killed the one guy that was in the stairwell. He just shot him, and then I think at least he killed at least 2 of his own men. So she's suddenly starting to realize who he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we're at number 2s.
Yes.
Number 2s. Okay. Yeah. Shall I go or?
Go ahead.
Okay. So my number 2, I want to talk about the story structure. So we touched upon this in the beginning, but this probably deserves a revisit. I mean, this was a brilliant story structure. The fact that we're opening up with first Lewis going in and shooting that employee and taking his credentials and his clothing, things like that, and then we jump ahead to Russo being interviewed by the detective, in a blood-splattered room, probably still, you can still smell the gunpowder and things like that. And then back and forth, Russo's preparation, and then, Karen's, going up the elevator to meet the senator, and then their subsequent, interview. The back and forth, like I said, the Tarantino-esque, type of storytelling, and also the Rashomon type of storytelling of, the different points of view. That was really excellent. And the culmination of it was when, again, we were treated to that back and forth, and then we finally settle in on Paige and Senator Ori, just talking, being interviewed, and all of a sudden an explosion, and in runs Lewis. I remember I basically jumped when that scene happened, because I was kind of lulled into, I don't know what. It's almost like a calm, you're so used to, exposition set up, and then finally maybe in the last third, the big action. But right. that action sequence just bounced right at you, and that explosion was so visceral and so loud. You almost felt like you were in there. And this was great editing. And then finally, I guess by the end, maybe by the last third of the show, it kind of settled back into a very linear type of storytelling once everything converged, especially after the fact that Russo was the betrayer. Everything became much more linear after that. But before that, it was a really great layered story that you just kind of start peeling away to really get at the plot. And that was brilliant.
Yeah, and like you pointed out at the beginning, the very first scene when we see that explosion, we are seeing it actually from the senators, from the detective telling Karen what the senators account of it was. And in his account, you have Lewis coming in with wearing a gas mask kind of thing, and the Frank coming in behind him like they're together with no mask on. And that when I first saw it, I went, huh? Why is the Punisher walking in? Why doesn't he just shoot him if he's that close? And then of course we cut back to Karen, and she laughs and she says, "Oh, is that what he said?"
He runs out going like, "I'll get help."
I'll get help. Yeah, and then he gives his part of the story is he picked up the gun and tried to shoot it, but it was empty or whatever, and then he runs out. I'll get help, and she says. That's what he said, because remember, there's another part where the senator says, "I'd never held a gun in my hand before," or something like that. And so Karen kind of laughs and says, "That's what he said." And then we get her account of it from the same moment, and we realize that they didn't come in at the same time. It was close, but Lewis had already killed a couple of the guards by the time Frank got in there, and then that it's actually Frank who takes a bullet in his vest.
Yeah.
He jumps in front of the senator to save the senator's life, and to save Karen's life. Really, I think he didn't care about the senator, but and then when you realize that everything that happened in the stairwell between Russo, the Punisher, Madani, and those cops, that all happened while Lewis and Paige are going down in the elevator. Because remember, right after that, Frank breaks away and he runs downstairs, and that's when he meets back up with Karen and Lewis in the basement or the kitchen, whatever that area was that they were in.
It looked like the kitchen.
Yeah.
All right.
For my number 2, I think I'm going to go with the makeup. And I don't know how they filmed this. I would assume they had to film it in order, but they would still have to go back and refilm scenes. And this is the benefit. Mark and I talked a little bit about this. I don't know if you're able to include it in the podcast from last week or not. We talked a little bit about this. This is because they finish a whole season before they actually put it out. They can do things like this to where they'll shoot scenes, and if they have to come back and reshoot other scenes. But if you watch the makeup throughout it, you can see where it changes, where she's got the cuts on her face from the bomb blast that we see, and then we don't see those through the whole episode. And I kept wondering, at least the last time I watched it, when did she get those cuts? Because she's being interviewed by the detective, and she's got these cuts on her face, and we don't know what those are from. And she's got the red eyes from the smoke of the explosion. We don't know what all that's from. And then we see Frank, and he's got the red eyes from the other explosions. And it's I just thought the makeup was done really well in the different ways that they filmed it, I guess.
Yeah, they definitely have continuity down as far as, it's like other shows don't really do that. Like, we're not going to talk about TWD right now, but I'm just saying that there are certain continuity issues in those. But needless to say, they have it down. Netflix seems to be narrowing that down whenever they film all these seasons. Even in Jessica Jones or even in Luke Cage, you actually do see those in those episodes because they do have to go back and reshoot. So there's somebody that's tallying all this information. Now, if you look at the credits at the end, there's a ton of credits for Netflix, if you ever noticed, and it's multiple languages and multiple people. So, it's a great, nod to them saying, hey, thank you for doing that, because it's almost filmed like a consecutive movie. And now, mind you, they do have various directors. Brian Malosh likes to pinpoint the writer, the director, and all those things. I tend not to, but honestly, it's a hats off to them overall as a company for doing that. They're doing these shows consecutively, like I stated, like a movie, and you could sit there in one full viewing in one day. If you start in the very early morning and go to the late at night, you could actually watch the whole season if you really wanted to. I kind of space it out. I usually do it over the course of 2 days, but that's just me.
What was your number 2, Mark?
My number 2 would be Karen's comeback, starring her investigation when they were interrogating her about the situation, what happened at the very end. Now, mind you, we got the very beginning of the episode, and it starts off with that interview, and then getting her information from the investigator. Mm-hmm. And, they talk about a bunch of things, being asked why she had a gun. And she brings up, he goes, well, why would you need a gun when there are people out there in this world to protect you? She goes,
yeah.
And then she has a quick comeback saying, well, obviously I don't feel protected. So, but not that saying that, I think it comes up about it not being her gun, but she has a gun.
Yeah, no, she, at the beginning when she comes up to the suite, there's this whole discussion between her and Billy, and he says something about, you're a reporter who's interviewing an anti-gun senator, and you have a concealed carry license.
Yeah,
and she says, well, yeah, this senator is anti-gun, but now he's surrounded by all these people with guns to protect him.
Yeah.
So it's a good little exchange back and forth, and I know my feelings on it, but I mean, I carry every day, so I can't really blame anybody who wants to protect themselves. Exactly. So, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
And also the fact that, at the very end, she's saying that Frank is a hero, whereas before they were looking at him as pretty much the enemy. And and her pointing out about Lewis and him protecting everybody from Lewis in the end. There was a lot of dialogue in there, but if you actually sit there and listen, and if you piece together the whole interview process, it points out in her saying that Frank was there to do right, where somebody was out there to do wrong against the senator. So, it's actually putting it out there that the Punisher he might be looked at as a villain, but he's actually a hero to those people because he's protecting. So, that to me, that was awesome.
Yeah, and that interview between her and Madani at the end where Madani says, oh, you knew he was alive when I came to see you, or to that effect, and Karen's like, well, yeah, I did,
Yeah.
And so she's trying to convince Madani that Frank is a hero. So, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Well, I have a question for you two. The Punisher, Frank Castle. We knew he was a hero, and he stepped into the action to protect that senator. What do you think? What was the reason? Do you think that he stuck his neck out to protect, Senator Orry? I mean,
because Karen was there. Because
do you think if Karen wasn't there, and if he knew that Senator Orry's life was in danger, he would have just let that go, you think? Or
no, I don't think he would have let it go. I really think that he would have stepped in because of the fact that he knew that something was happening, and he had that hint of it being Lewis that was doing it, and somebody was definitely coming after him, after the senator. So I really think he would have done that just to do right, for the reason that all this stuff is pinpointed towards Frank, making him look like the terrorist, and he's not, but he's also looking out to get rid of the terrorist that's making him look bad. But it's not in all self-gain, it's all also doing the right thing, and not eliminating the one person that's out there that, is stating a lot of things in public, but trying to protect the virtues that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mark. I think he would have gone even if Karen wasn't there. But him knowing that Karen and the senator were going to be in the same place at the same time, and knowing how Lewis felt about both of them, I think he realized that was going to be his best opportunity to get Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amplified definitely by Karen being there. Trust me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool.
Cool.
Who's next?
Number 1.
Oh, we're number one. Okay.
We're number
I think
one.
so.
We all got our number 2s out there?
I think
yes.
so.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, cool.
Okay. So my number one is betrayal. You know, the theme of betrayal in the whole series and how it kind of culminates in episode 10. The prime motivation, like the if betrayal was a character, you know, like a living character, he definitely would have been the antagonist of this whole series because you know, the prime reason why Frank is who he is now is because he was betrayed by his unit and, you know, his old commanders and his friend Billy. And, but there's so many layers of betrayal in the whole series that just comes to light now in this episode. We talked a little bit before about how Billy is finally exposed to Madani, you know, that betrayal there. But also we see, I don't know if I can say a parallel in Lewis, but Lewis's prime motivation or what kind of drove him over the edge was his betrayal that he felt from society as a whole. You know, like I can't remember if he served in Afghanistan or Iraq, but essentially when he came back, after the war, he came back he felt a lot of the emptiness that, you know, the Vietnam vets felt, you know, classically in their era as well. And so he felt that betrayal, and that pushed him over the edge to, you know, strike back against Senator Orry and Karen Page and that. And so all those levels of betrayal, you know, how Billy betrayed Madani and how Billy has betrayed Frank, you know, Lewis, who I just mentioned. We don't see Micro in this episode, but he, you know, betrayal was the big motivator as far as, you know, how he got involved too. So, yeah, betrayal is you know, just a big antagonist for this whole series. And yeah, it reminds me a little bit about you know, Thor and Ragnarok, because when Thor was saying like, yeah, we should form a team, you know, we'll call ourselves the Revengers, you know. Maybe that's what Frank Castle should have named himself in his team, you know, the Revengers, because we're getting revenge on people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like that. And really, if you even go back to the beginning of this episode, when Madani's boss, is that her father? He really acts like
he's a father figure. He's a father figure, yeah,
Okay.
and he seems like a very true father figure as well. Which is cool.
She's talking to him, and he almost feels betrayed because of the fake operation that she ran. And then she explains to him that, well, there was a bug in my office, and I didn't know who was. And he's like, well, we could have elevated it to a higher authority. And she's like, well, we know what happened the last time. And that's almost the exact same conversation that Frank and Micro had in the previous episode when Micro said, well, we can just send a video to somebody. And Frank goes, well, we know how well that worked last time. You know? So yeah, I like that. That betrayal is a big part of this whole season, really.
Yeah, that's true, because Madani wasn't only betrayed by Billy, but also she was betrayed by her own homeland command structure, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, the people up top who were greedy and everything like that, yeah.
I guess that's why this was called Virtues of the Vicious.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
My number one is the poem that we hear Lewis, I guess it's actually the last two lines. It's a poem by Rudyard Kipling called The Young British Soldier, and that's the poem that he's reciting there at the end and that he kind of has as a mantra throughout this whole episode, the whole wait like a good soldier, you know. And I really thought he played that really well. And when he gets into that freezer and you see him trying to reconnect that wire, and I felt like Frank was trying to talk him out of it, trying to get him not to do that. But Karen knows this guy's over the edge. He's going to blow himself up. We need to get out of here. Yeah. And so we have that moment when Frank realizes that, and Karen has now come back to try to help him. And he, you know, they just barely get missed by that door when the explosion happens. And it just that whole thing with that, like I said, that mantra that he keeps repeating through the episode was very interesting, because I know we have those things. Whether you're whatever your job is, you're going to have things that you repeat that you do all the time, and it almost seems that was what was drilled into him. Was these were things that you do all the time. You're going to wait. You're going to get support. You're going to hold on to your gun, hold on to your sword, your bayonet, whatever. You're going to hold on to it. And so I really kind of liked that whole thing.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
And your number one,
my number one?
Mark?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, definitely. All right, this is a little out of sequence, and it's a little bit different. Karen's portrayal in the episode. She was stronger and trusting with Frank. Pretty much segues back to what we were talking about, the trust and the relationship that she has with Frank, and the fact that the character has grown so much all the way from Daredevil to now. And I think the character is actually in other Netflix shows as well. She does show up.
Okay.
But, and I'm sure that's eventually going to happen even more so, because between Deborah Ann Walls and Rosario Dawson's characters are concerned, they're constantly revolving around each other within this universe.
Yeah.
And I praise Deborah Ann Wall for doing what she's been doing, because she came from a long way from when I first saw her in True Blood all the way to now. And her acting chops are perfect. From when I saw her then in True Blood, she was playing a teenager that just wanted to be a vampire at some point, and then, and being changed. And then that turning, and then eventually going into this series, in Daredevil, and then playing the meek character that trusts Matt Murdock, and then eventually having a relationship with him. And then within all that time, within all these shows, she winds up becoming her own and a strong character. So she's building a big character in this universe, I think. Just like Rosario Dawson. If you look at Rosario Dawson's career, she's been in a ton of things. Definitely a lot of comic book stuff between Sin City and doing stuff on in cartoons, doing voiceovers, especially Batman Lego. Mind you, they're giving a lot of credit to these women, and thank God they're becoming more prominent as far as being something of a strong nature, and I'm glad for this. I really do like Karen Page's character within this series, as well as Daredevil's. I'm hoping she becomes a little bit more of a strong point in the next Daredevil, and then hopefully sneak in to the next Luke Cage one. But we won't know that until I think the fall for Luke Cage. So we already got Jessica Jones, and that came out, and that dropped for the new season. And that's
did it drop already?
Yeah, it dropped already.
Okay.
I already watched it. I have to do a rewatch. But honestly, she wasn't in it. But the thing is that it added more character to the actual Jessica Jones. But it's, in my opinion, it's slow-going Jessica Jones season 2. But by episode 4, between 4 and 6, it actually picks up, and you start to see things piecing together. And a lot of these writers on these Netflix shows are doing awesome. Honestly, this is far better than what they're doing on regular syndicated TV. It's like, except for the CW, that those superhero shows to me are very, they're great. As far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're doing okay, but it didn't really captivate me. But I think it's all within the writing, and hopefully they all come together. My feeling is I really want to see some sort of DC Marvel clash or mix-up come together sometime soon. But until that time, we're subjected to this, and my feeling is I'm a great fan of the Netflix series from Marvel. I'm not sure where the app process is going to go with Disney and all this stuff, but I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this content within it. The CW is continuing to prove me really happy. I'm really happy with the outcome. Every story is really good between Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and all those shows. But there's only so much TV and so much that we could actually consume. But Netflix is definitely hitting the mark as far as when it comes to the Marvel shows.
That's cool. Yeah, I agree.
I think it's going to be interesting to see going forward, like you said, with the Disney, with Disney acquiring the Marvel stuff, and if there's those two universes, the MCU and the Netflix MCU, if those are ever going to come together. I don't know. It seems like right now there's no plans for it, that they're going to keep them separate entities, basically. And I think they're missing out. I think it'd be good to see some of these people on the big screen. So,
yeah, Kevin Feige's holding things separately, but honestly, it's actually working in the long run. They're keeping. If you look at the Netflix series, they're all kept within that small venue of, New York.
Yeah,
and
right.
I've been to all those places. So, to me, it's like, I've been to Hell's Kitchen. I've been on Staten Island. I live there. And then,
except for all the destruction that's been wrought, from the Avengers that we haven't seen in the Netflix universe.
Well, they do speak about it. Come on, they do speak about the incident on occasion, and they do reference certain people. And in Jessica Jones season 2, there's a kid in there that constantly talks about Captain America. Do you know him? And things like that. So they do reference everything regarding the MCU as far as the cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. So as far as the Netflix own, I think they're trying to keep it more local, whereas the actual cinematic universe is worldwide. So, it's like I don't think they're going to actually do something... which would be pretty cool if we actually saw a small suburb of Wakanda,
right?
And see what's going on in that country. But I don't think they're going to concentrate that much into it. They're probably going to move on to other things like Cloak and Dagger, or Moon Knight, or who knows.
I would love to see a little bit of crossover between the big screen characters and heroes to what we're seeing on Netflix. Like it would be awesome to see Captain America or Spider-Man, show up, because in the comics, for example, the Punisher and Spider-Man were at odds a lot. Yes. That would be awesome, if there was some sort of crossover where we saw, I don't know, some sort of conflict, or even if it was just an episode, that would be great to see, him or Black Widow or, Captain America or whatever, the Falcon, just cross into these guys' universes just for a little while.
Yeah.
My feeling would have been more or less have the Netflix people come into the MCU. Not even just for like the long run, just for like a cameo. Let's say if Spider-Man was going against Kraven, the Hunter, and you're talking about that for another movie. It would be great to see the Punisher come in and try to stop Kraven for something that he's doing wrong against society that Spider-Man is trying to do within his own town.
Yeah.
And just like stop for like maybe a scene or two. And then just have, John Bernthal in there and be like, yep, we got it. The same thing with Daredevil too. He could always stop in at Doctor Strange's house for some odd reason. For like legal issues, because he's got this house and who knows who walks in and all these damages that are going on. Things like that.
Yeah, I just picked up. I started following Despicable Deadpool on the comic book. and I just picked up. I haven't read it yet, but he's going to fight Captain America in this
cool.
this issue that I just picked up today. And I'm just kind of starting to dip my toe back into the comics, but I don't know. It's going to be tough because like you got to just decide to pick a couple of books, I think, and just read those and not worry about the rest of them because there's like 4 Deadpool books.
Yeah,
Wow.
Deadpool and Spider-Man, and then Deadpool himself, and yeah, that's a ton.
There's like Old Man Logan versus Deadpool, and then there's Old Man Logan, and then there's. I'm just browsing through the stacks today, going, "Oh, did I make a mistake?" I did pick up Oblivion Song though. Have you had a chance to pick that up and read it yet, Mark?
I picked it up. Did I read it? Hell no. I haven't had much time with everything that's been going on around my
Right.
house and family and friends. But you know, it is a sit down for me this weekend. And I actually asked Robert Kirkman via Twitter if he would actually do an interview, but obviously I got no reply.
Right.
I think it's my last name.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe that it's actually your last name. You gotta find that uncle or that cousin who's
Yeah, the
actually
connection.
the connection there, and try to see if you can get through that way. It's okay. It's got a few little issues that I'm hoping will work themselves out. I finished reading it earlier today and haven't gone back to read it again yet, but it's a cool little storyline. The basic plot, if you didn't know yet, is basically something happened that caused several 100,000 people to just disappear into like another dimension, in which they call Oblivion. And the protagonist of the comic book is able to travel with he's got a belt and he's got some darts that he can transport people to and from this dimension. So he, several years ago, I think they said 10 years before, had been going to this dimension and finding people and bringing them back. And then at some point the funding ran out. And so now where we're at in the comic book is where he's trying to still go to that dimension with limited funding and try to get the funding back. So, and that's the basic premise, is that he's trying to go to this Oblivion dimension and find any people. And it's your basic post-apocalyptic monsters roaming the surface of the earth or the dimension, whatever it is. I think one panel he says it's not very big, the area that they're searching, or it's not like an entire Earth size.
Yeah, it's a state size. The state of Philadelphia.
Right. So it's a big section for one guy to search, but it's pretty good. And I picked up the wrong run of Moon Knight. I picked up the 2017 run of Moon Knight. So I'm trying to get the current run of Moon Knight from my local comic book shop, but they haven't got anything in yet. So I don't know what's going on there. But what comic books are you reading, Mark? Are you keeping up with anything? I know you've been busy.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, it's like I'm a big Iron Maiden fan, so I've been keeping up with the actual Iron Maiden comic book that's been out by Heavy
Cool.
Metal Comics. So, I'm a big heavy metal fan, and Iron Maiden is number one on my list of bands that I loved as a kid, and still. And, creating Eddie as an actual comic book character and him going around being some sort of anti-hero, as it were. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's fun. It's based on the actual game that they put out, and the artwork I love, the story not so much, but I enjoy it.
Do you, Avellino, do you follow the Walking Dead comic book or any comic books at all?
Not anymore. No, I years ago I read maybe the first couple of volume compendiums of The Walking Dead. But when I was a teenager, actually no, not a teenager, probably when I was up until my mid to late 20s, I was still heavy into comic books and still collecting titles like Punisher and The Incredible Hulk and things like that. But not so probably not for the last 2 decades.
That's the same with me. I've just gotten back into it. I was a big Image guy back in the 90s and the 80s. I didn't like following the Marvel and DC stuff because there were just too many of them. But Image had some really good. Dark Horse had some good standalone characters that were fun to collect. I think I still got a few boxes of those here in my apartment. I've got
cool.
a trunk at my brother's house that's got a bunch of old comics in it that someday I'm going to have to drag out and see if I can do anything with them. So
Yeah, well, they're all worth something at this point.
yeah, so sooner or later.
So. But, the only thing I could see in comic that's been going on lately, they've actually been filming Shazam, and I saw some of the photos on set, and I'm not happy.
No, who's Shazam? Who's the actor that's going to be Shazam?
Is it Wonder Man? What's the name of the character? His name is not Shazam. Shazam is what he says, right?
No, it's actual Shazam. They actually mention it as Shazam.
Because I just grew up calling him Captain Marvel, like,
Captain Marvel, yeah, that's what I always called him, yeah.
But I think they changed it because of, copyright reasons or whatever.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're actually doing Captain Marvel, and it's really Miss Marvel for Marvel, the actual Marvel comic movie series. Let me see. I have IMDb up, and it's supposed to be coming out in 2019. And they have the previs. It's Zachary Levi as
Chuck. Yeah,
as Shazam.
That's actually what they are. That is what they're calling him in this one. But yeah, in the original '70s one, he would say the word Shazam, and that's what turned him into Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you had the Captain Marvel or Shazam ISIS hour.
Yep. Shazam ISIS hour.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, they do have ISIS on the Legends of Tomorrow.
On the Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, on CW.
Okay.
So the Legends
okay.
has ISIS, but they don't refer to her as ISIS. But they had a nod back to the original TV show from Saturday morning from, what was it, in the 70s. And they had her wear the costume because it was a Halloween episode. And she had the little pendant that she wore too.
Okay.
So to me, that brought out the little kid in me when I saw that episode. So it was kind of cartoony, but, it made sense. But I don't think they would ever do an actual movie about ISIS because of everything with the name and everything else that's going on in society now. But, with Shazam, I'm like, oh my God, just bring me Black Adam already. Because the on-screen, like the behind-the-scenes shots that I've been seeing, they kind of look cheesy. I just don't want to see it as a comedy.
Yeah.
I thought that Dwayne Johnson was going to be playing Black Adam in that movie, but maybe I'm wrong.
Nah, they don't have him listed as a character in it.
Okay.
I would love to see. Hopefully it leads into something, but the DCU at this point, they're not sure of what they're doing. They're just coming out with these different characters with the way Justice League fell about this past winter. It was in December that it came out or something.
Yeah.
A lot of people were not happy with it. I thought it was entertaining. It gave some action, gave some humor, but you had two directors, you had two different views. I enjoyed it just as a film, and honestly, it's like I grew up with Super Friends, so I the first thing I thought was like, oh great, I get to see them all except for Hal Jordan. I didn't get to see Green Lantern, and that was the only drawback. But they do mention the Lanterns. They're not going to bring out Ryan Reynolds in that weird green outfit again. And
no, I think he's done with that.
Yeah.
I think Deadpool's got him firmly entrenched.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like all you listeners out there, the way I know Evelino and the way I know Steve is through Jason Kabasi's Walking Dead cast. he has a Patreon, and if you're a listener to that, please pledge. Please be part of this community. We're over 100 and going strong. We have fun. So this is something that we all do amongst ourselves in our own little community. If you want to be part of that and be involved with that, I encourage you to listen to the Walking Dead cast, which can be found through iTunes or Stitcher, or there's a TV Time app.
And as they said, if you heard this week's podcast, they are now the official TV Time podcast app for The Walking Dead.
Awesome. So I encourage every one of you listeners out there to actually listen to that as well. If you feel the need that you want to contribute and be part of that community, you can do so. I think minimum payment is $10. There are other tiers that you could go. Depends on how much you want to contribute. But to be part of the actual community, I believe the beginning is at $10. But, I open myself up to anybody else who wants to listen to other podcasts. Please continue to listen. If you are a listener of the Next Level podcast network that has Ben Beck, and we have DC Primetime, and there's a few others out there, and I'm pretty sure if you've jumped onto the Next Level podcast website, you could actually see those other podcasts. Dive into those. Figure out what you like. Everybody has a difference in thought or preferences of what they listen to and how they listen to. I'm sure there's a lot of other podcasts that, because there's millions of them. Choose what you want to listen to and contribute. Just like here, I've checked my email for Panels to Pixels podcast for Gmail, and I've not seen anybody send anything in. So if you feel free and you want to, go to our Facebook page, Panels to Pixels, or email us at panels2pixels. That's PANELSTOPIXELS 1, the number 1, at gmail.com. And then, contribute your feedback. We'll read it. We'll gladly read it. We have not received any. But if you guys want to, please do so. Or even comment on the actual Facebook page. I know I boosted a lot of things with Kevin Smith. I'm glad that he is well. He had his heart attack, and that was one of the few people that was out there in this world that got me into the idea of doing podcasting, as well as Jason and Karen. So Jason Kabasi and Karen Morvay, listen to them. Listen to Kevin Smith, Chris Hardwick, and a few others that are out there. But we all, everybody has a voice, and it depends on who you want to listen to and how entertained you are. Plus, everybody wants a difference of opinion of what they're watching, they're listening to. It could be music, it could be TV, it could be movies, anything. So if you guys out there are interested, you're more than welcome. All you have to do is follow us on Facebook, comment, and that's all it is. We do love people. If you have some sort of rating you want to do, we're on iTunes. I'm not sure if we're on Stitcher yet, but you can follow us through those vehicles or directly through the Next Level Podcast Network page. So I encourage all you out there, actually call in, write in, do whatever you need to. I'll be more than willing to have you guys, have your words spoken on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Next episode will probably be episode 11, and we're narrowing it down, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah, 13 episodes this season, so we're getting close. We're ramping up to the end. I don't have the name of episode 11 in front of me right now, but it's I'm sure it's a good one. There's got to be some aftermath with Lewis's death, obviously, and this bomb explosion. Let's see. The next one is called Danger Close, according to IMDb. So we're ramping up. We're getting very close. 3 episodes left, and and then we're going to go into Jessica Jones. And I'm. It's hard for me not to binge Jessica Jones, but I'm going to go in cold, knowing nothing about it, and however many episodes we decide to do for season 1 at a time, I'm just going to watch those, and then however we decide to do season 2, I'm going to go in cold on those and see how it is.
Well, my feeling is doing 2 at a time. So we'll do episode 1 and 2 as one podcast, and then we'll go 3, 4. So my feeling is that will go by a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, and I'm taking a little bit of a page from Mr. Jason Kabasi's point for when he's doing Westworld. Right. A lot of people have already watched Jessica Jones, so and they've already listened to other podcasts. So we'll do season 1 that way, and then we'll jump into season 2. We could do it individually, or we could do it the same way. Honestly, the season 2, it took me about 4 to 6 episodes to get into. You have to really sit and watch and grasp and gather all the content. The first one goes by swimmingly, and you got a lot there. So, all you guys out there, if you have any input and thoughts on Jessica Jones, feel free to give in and send that information in. I will have, Steve and I will be on. Anybody else that wants to jump in, just like you, Avelino, you're more than welcome to if you're interested in that. Yeah. I really welcome anybody else that wants to have a viewer point, that want to say anything that they want about these episodes. I do listen to Westworld cast and Ash versus the Evil Dead cast. And
love it.
All those stuff. Those are awesome. And I think Jason did something recently that was a flub on yours.
Yeah, right. I heard about that. I haven't heard it yet, but I guess I must have sent my email in, and he said I sent it to the right email address, but I sent in a quick review, because the way they do Ash versus Evil Dead is the Ash versus Evil Dead cast is they have the episodes already, so they're only watching them one at a time, but they're actually recording their podcasts and dropping them the day that the episode airs. So the feedback is always for the previous episode that you hear. And so I'd sent in some feedback, and I guess he didn't realize it was for Ash, and he played it on the Walking Dead cast. And he went ahead and left it in. So I haven't heard it yet. I'm almost done with that podcast, but it's always fun to hear my own voice. They get a lot of input in that Walking Dead cast. I don't think they get quite as much for the Ash versus Evil Dead cast, so it's kind of easier to get content in on that one. But that Walking Dead cast, they get a lot. I don't envy them sorting through all those comments and emails and voicemails and Facebook posts and everything. So they do a good job.
Yeah,
well,
they got a
big
following.
That's what Reed is for.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually Westworld doesn't have much as well, and I had put in a couple of times, and I really love Westworld, and I really would like to tap David's brain, because he and I love the original series. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. People just go out there, listen. If you have those interests, pursue them. You know, there are other podcasts out there. I'm not saying just listen to mine. Just listen to this one or that one. Feel free. I've gone through a lot of Walking Dead podcasts before I actually stumbled on to Jason and Karen. And they are the ones that actually got me attracted to listening to more podcasts, other than Chris Hardwick and Kevin Smith. Yeah. And eventually I wound up listening to Brian Malash, and now I'm on the Walking Dead talk through as well on his, which is on Golden Spiral Media. So if you guys want to hear me and my voice on that, my opinions, it's pretty funny, and we have a good time. Brian and I actually have a good rapport. We're good friends on through our Zedheads Patreon page. So we've known each other for over a year, and it's pretty awesome, and it's going well. I think if you listen to the most recent one, we're good. Cool. We're having a good time.
Yeah, it was good.
So with that, thank you all for listening. Feel free to tune in to more we'll be back again with another Netflix Punisher. Thank you, Avelino, for showing up, and
You're welcome.
we want to hear you again. So hopefully you can
Absolutely.
come
Cool.
on again.
Good, I will.
And Steve, thank you. As per usual, you've been the consummate co-host that I've been looking for, and we have.
Oh, my pleasure, sir.
So we're going to say goodnight and thank you.
All right,
night.
thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.